We're here at the NRA National Firearms Museum in the Hollywood Guns Collection. I'm John Popp, not here with Phil Schreier, although I know he's around here somewhere, but Matt Sharp. Matt, you are what here at the museum?
I'm an assistant curator, assistant to Phil, actually.
Well, welcome here to the Curator's Corner. And now we've seen this firearm before. Phil showed it to us, but tell us why we're seeing it again. Tell me about this firearm.
Well, you've had this on your show before, like you mentioned. It's called the Nock Volley gun. And I figured I'd do a little bit of a recap about the history of it because since that time where you first had it on, we've actually done a little bit of investigative journalism with this piece.
Okay.
I was asked to write an article on the Nock Volley gun, the history of it, and its service in the British Navy. And as part of an attempt to gain credibility, I was assigned to load and shoot the thing for technical information.
Okay, so this is an operating firearm right here.
It is, and
wow.
I operated it.
Okay, well tell us about it.
Well, the Nock Volley gun, as you might have remembered from our previous installment, is a 7-barreled flintlock musket. And the neat thing about this thing is that it's called a volley gun because if you look at the muzzle here, all 7 are designed to go off at once. That's right, it's a simultaneous blast of 7 powder charges in each of these 7 chambers.
Simultaneous loud blast.
Loud is right, yes. Loud and powerful, as I've come to find out. As I was doing research on the Nock, I was reading all these service records and accounts of these sailors in the British Royal Navy who were equipped with this thing. They gave these to sailors who were manning the top rounds and the crow's nest of the ship, and the idea was to fire down on an encroaching enemy ship as they were attempting a boarding action maneuver.
Right.
The basic idea is the more lead you have airborne in a close grouping like this will impact maximum damage on the enemy.
Okay. So this is designed to damage, I imagine, not only people, but the ship itself then too.
Well, it was an anti-personal gun, but as they came to find out, it was better in theory than in practice. This gun had many, many flaws to it. Number one, perhaps, is probably the devastating recoil that I'm sure you can imagine. It's 7 barrels going off at once that you're bearing the brunt of in your shoulder.
Jeez.
Even the strongest and most burly of guys who were equipped with this thing couldn't handle the blast. They actually had to. The Royal Ordnance Board actually recommended they reduce the 2 drams of powder down to 1.
Okay.
Because it was too powerful. You just couldn't handle that. Also, if you're stationed at the top of a ship that's swaying in the breeze on the water and you're trying to maintain your sea legs, you don't want this thing knocking you off of something that's already hard to maintain balance of.
Knocking you out of the crow's nest. Whoop.
Yeah, exactly.
Lost another one.
And this thing does knock. It's called the Nock Volley gun, of course, not because of that. But another problem that was observed by the ship's commanders is this thing, when it goes off, it shoots out a wide plume of flame and spark that shoots out like a jet, and we'll show you in a picture later on. That was dangerous on top of ships. You've got ropes, you've got sailcloth, and close proximity to where you're firing, where you're aiming. It was a fire hazard. And it was, like I said, if you see this picture that we're about to show you, it could easily ignite your surrounding material of the ship. And if you're trying to play a defensive standard on a ship, you're not going to want to self-sabotage the equipment.
All right. So you mentioned you have a picture which we'll put up now, and you got a chance to fire this thing. Now, first of all, I guess obviously not all the firearms in a collection like this are operable, but this one is, and you guys were safely able to take it out and fire it.
Right. Our staff did a safety check on it, and we deemed it was safe to fire. I fired the thing twice. I loaded it once with just powder and wad so that there was no lead down there. I had to anticipate what the trigger pull was and also the flash delay as the fire was communicated from the pan to the central barrel.
Practice runs.
A practice run. And that had a bit of a kick to it, but as you know, there's no lead down there. It's not going to really jolt you back. So I did that once and everything went flawlessly. And then it was time to load the actual 46 caliber round balls down all 7.
Wow.
7 of the barrels. And keep in mind, this is after I had read all these accounts of these dislocated shoulders and broken clavicles that this thing rendered on the shooter. I was a little shaky.
Yeah, a little.
as I aimed this thing at a target that was about 15 feet away. So myself and senior curator Phil Schreier meticulously loaded all 7 of these chambers here, keeping in mind which one we had loaded so that we didn't double load, which was actually a problem they encountered on the ships. The double load of a chamber could produce some very dangerous effects. So 7 in the barrel. I shouldered the thing and took aim, and the thing already weighs 13 pounds on its own, so it's kind of hard to hold up. And I pulled the trigger, and that thing went off like, I'll never forget I can still feel it. This was a month ago, and the thing went off. You see in the picture, it knocked me back from the forward-leaning position I had taken on the firearm, and the barrel kind of went up and cracked me on the chin there. I got a little bit of a powder burn on my finger there from the flash and spark that had come out of the flash pan, and quite impressive was the battle scar I got, which was the black and blue bruise I had right about in this area for about 2 weeks thereafter. So shooting it once was enough, I'd say. So not a big stretch to realize when they used this thing for a while, they took it out of service. It wasn't really working real well. Yeah, they it was eventually phased out of service by the Royal Ordnance Board. It would have kind of faded away into obscurity, maybe perhaps been just a footnote in firearms history. But as we mentioned before, it's part of our Hollywood Guns exhibit, and the reason why is that this is an authentic Nock Volley gun. It was made in the 1780s, but it was used also as a firearms prop in a Hollywood movie called The Alamo, 1960. John Wayne starred and directed in this Hollywood epic. This is the gun that was used by the character portraying Jim Bowie, Richard Widmark. This is the gun that he had by his side that whole movie. It hardly leaves his side at the film. And the funny thing about that movie, having now fired one of these things, is every time that guy pulls the trigger, you see a little jolt and nothing more. But that's the effects of movie magic. He doesn't have lead down that thing. He's got pyrotechnic charges and blank charges that he's able to, dispatch a lot of these, a lot of the enemies storming that Texas outpost, and he does it very well on screen. Not so much in reality, I don't think. I was going to say, the prop guy saw, that's a cool looking gun, let's write it into the movie. And it is a cool looking gun. It's a gun that would be very formidable in the hands of a heroic hero of Jim Bowie. It wasn't well known that this gun was probably a bit of a fluke. Right. But like I said, better in theory than in practice. Now it's a great piece here at the Hollywood Guns exhibit here at the National Firearms Museum. So how do folks get out here and see all that? Well, we're located in Northern Virginia, Fairfax County. We're off of Interstate 66, exit 57. You can visit us 7 days a week. We're closed major holidays, and we're open from 9:30 to 5 each day. Free admission. Matt, thank you so much for bringing your personal experience and bringing back the Nock Volley gun for a great second round here on the Curator's Corner. Thank you, sir. Thank you.